Well, we thought this day was going to be fairly easy. At least I think I did, and I think Willie might have as well. It started out with a ride from Crested Butte over the Kebler Pass down to Paonia Reservoir and then up the road about 15 miles till we turned off and went in the village of Marble. From Marble, we headed east, um, and this is the dirt road that starts right on the edge of this little village, and it goes out, cuts off. It goes one prong goes down to the Crystal River and up to the Crystal Mill, and the left prong goes to Lead King Basin. Here we are at the split, and we are heading down toward the Crystal River. Frankly, I've seen a number of videos of people riding along Crystal River and up to Crystal Mill, and I thought it was going to be a relatively easy ride, but at least for me, I was wrong. This hill is pretty steep. I was following Norm. I couldn't keep up his speed, and it looks pretty smooth here, but there was obviously no guardrail, and it was a long drop down toward the river. It got pretty rough. It was irregular in many places. And frankly, I was scared, and the whole way down I kept thinking, how in the world am I going to get back up this, even though I know it doesn't look that difficult. We came up to a pond where we stopped and got our act together and took off again. This is heading down another fairly steep embankment, actually, and it was rocky and wet. And we got a couple of miles up, and I was just exhausted. I think the day before had worn me out, and I just wasn't prepared for this. I know that I learned two primary things on this trip. One was that I underestimated the difficulty of the riding, and the other was I grossly overestimated my abilities. I was riding a 690 Enduro R, and although the bike is significantly lighter than my BMW GS, nonetheless it's still a fairly heavy bike, and I didn't handle it very well. This is the point at which I stopped, and I just let them go on. It was another 4 or 5 miles, and I let them go on up to Crystal Mill. You can see what the bottom looked like. This is the Crystal Mill on the Crystal River. This was one of my major objectives of the trip, to try to get up there, and I didn't make it. But Willie and Norm did. They were gone, I don't know, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, all the way up, and then they came back, and then I followed Norm out. And this was heading back along the Crystal River, and I'm sorry the film's so shaky, but it was rough. And I found that by maintaining more speed, it was actually fairly easy. I surprised myself, and I think I surprised Norm, because at one point he stopped and turned around to look for me, and I was sitting right behind him. So he was pleased, and I was pleased, and it was just part of the learning. It's unfortunate that the altitude was having such an adverse impact on me, but there's not a lot you can do about that, and I think that perhaps age plays a role in this, but I'd never quite been impacted the way I felt I was this time. And a lot of that was mental fatigue as well. This part of the road, as you can see, is a little bumpy, but as long as I let the bike do its thing, and as long as I went a little faster, it was a whole lot easier than going slow, and I felt more comfortable. And the hill here is a lot steeper than it looks, but I pulled it with no problem. The bike had all the capability in the world, and it was a fairly easy run up, although if I'd slipped, I wouldn't be dictating into this thing right now. When we got to the top, I had already made the decision that I was going to go back down the highway and go back over Kebler Pass, because I just wasn't in shape to go with them up through Lead King Basin and perhaps up over the Schofield Pass. Norm and Willie decided to go that route, and as it turns out, and we'll see in a minute, it's an awfully good thing I didn't go, because they had a lot of trouble and they did not get back before I did. They, in fact, were 2 or 3 hours behind me for a variety of different reasons. But we're coming up to the top of this hill, back to the fork, and I'm going to turn left and head back to Marble, and then out to the highway, and they're going to turn right and head up to Lead King Basin.
Okay, how many miles though? I just want to get an idea in my head.
30, maybe? Yeah, 30.
30, 35 is the absolute most.
Alright, but it's not like all like what we did do, right?
A bit. Most of it easier.
Okay. Alright.
Have a great ride, guys.
This is where I headed back to Marble, and coming up in just a second, we're going to go to a bunch of slides, because I wasn't with them. Willie had filled up his cards, or his battery ran out or something, and he didn't get any video of that portion of the trip. And they did take some photographs, and fortunately, which I have included in here, and we'll just go through those photographs. And I'll try to dictate over. Here we go. This is going into Lead King Basin, and it is absolutely gorgeous, to say the least. We had a fairly pretty day, and the riding through Lead King Basin actually was pretty easy. The problem was that both Norm and I thought that when they came back down to the road that bypasses the Crystal River, that they would be beyond the Devil's Punchbowl. And as it turned out, they were not only not beyond the Devil's Punchbowl, they were a couple of miles short of it. And Willie and Norm both said that the riding from there to the Punchbowl and up through the Punchbowl was some of the most difficult riding either one of them have ever done at any time. And they've both been riding motorcycles for 45 years. But this is Lead King Basin, and wow, do I want to go there, and I'd even ride the GS up to this part on a pretty day. It is absolutely spectacular, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. What they didn't enjoy was getting down to the base of the Punchbowl. And the trail, if you will, through the Punchbowl is one of the most dangerous roads in Colorado. 9 people died in an SUV there a couple of years ago when they went over the edge and tumbled down and were trapped. And this is toward the bottom, and we're going to see a photograph in just a second here where they had to make a decision to head back toward Crystal Mill. Oh, this is Willie, I forgot. He had a flat tire along the way, and the temperature had gotten awfully hot, and this, thank goodness both of these guys know what they're doing, had the tools and the gear to fix the tire. There's the hole in the tire that he replaced, and the spare that he put in got him out. And this is how he held up the bike with a stick. But this is where it started to get rough, and you can see this scree that came down in the road, and it was just an absolute nightmare. And it was a couple of miles from where they joined the other trail back. And this is Willie, exhausted from changing the tire, from the ride. And this was the split, and they could have gone to the left of Marble, or gone where they came from was up to the right, and they turned left, and here they are at the base of the Punchbowl. I haven't been there. I can't speak with any authority about it, but I can tell you that virtually everybody that comes through the Punchbowl comes down it from the Crested Butte side. Norm and Willie had to get up it, and my guess is there probably aren't a dozen people a year that ride up this. It is steep, although it doesn't show it here. It is extremely rocky, which it does show. It is slanted in many places. As you look at this picture, from right to left, from the uphill side to the downhill side, there you go. And you can't put, if you need to put your foot down, if you're going down, if you need to put your right foot down, you're history, because you're not going to be able to stop the bike from tumbling over the edge. There's a huge rock in the middle of the trail. Willie had some minor problems, and they had parked the bike, and Willie had to go back and get something, and it was just brutal. And there's steps that you've got to get up. You see four-wheelers go up, but you very seldom see a motorcycle ride up there. It's just too tough. And here was a Jeep coming down. The dog in the back of the Jeep just rode one side of it right up over this huge rock that's in the middle of the trail. This is toward the top of the Punchbowl where they're coming out, and you'll see, you can't see his face, but I can tell you that is one tired guy who is an awfully good rider, and if you asked him who won this battle, I think he'd tell you the Punchbowl won. And here's a sign, if you happen to be going east to west, they were coming west to east, but if you happen to be going east to west, they've got a sign in there warning everybody. Here they are at the top. They actually came up over Paradise Divide because they didn't want to deal with the snow in Schofield Pass. And the next couple of pictures and the end of this thing are all kind of looking down from the divide back toward Crested Butte. And I know both of them, by the time they got here, both of them felt extreme relief and were glad to be on something that was a little more reasonable, going to be a little easier to ride, and headed downhill toward Mount Crested Butte and then Crested Butte. And it was a great day. It was a tough day. It took the stuffing out of all of us. Colorado beckons. We'd all go back in a heartbeat. Thanks for watching.